Jamie Dornan shared in tears, crying, "I hope Amelia Warner and the children will forgive me." On a breezy autumn evening, Jamie Dornan stepped onto a small stage in the middle of a packed room, a private memorial event, where he decided to share his deepest feelings. His eyes were sad, a little tired, but still hopeful. The soft lighting and the murmuring of people died down as he spoke. "I come here today, not as an actor in front of a crowd, but as a husband, a father, and a man who has done wrong." And he said, "I hope Amelia and the children will forgive me." Here is the fictional story of that confession, Jamie's journey from self-awareness, to guilt, to the desire to heal. 1. The moment of change. Jamie has always been a celebrity, the lights, the cameras, the fame, but few people saw the moment he walked into his living room, where Amelia and her 3 young daughters, according to the source, Dulcie, Elva and Alberta, were sitting. People.com. +1. That day, when the cameras rolled, he was trying to make dinner, but there was a dark side to him. The long takes, the roles that required him to be away from home, and the feeling of growing distance from his family. He wondered, who am I trying to be? The dusty actor on set, or the father who can lie down with his children at night? Then one day, after a tough scene, he became pensive. Amelia was known to have described him as very humble, funny, genuine. The standard, +1, but now, Jamie found himself transformed into a different version, the lights, the roles, and the increasing number of days away from his family. At one point, as he takes off his makeup and leaves the set, he notices his daughter's baby blanket lying on the sofa, seemingly left behind by her when Lara, a fictional daughter in this story, woke up in the middle of the night. Jamie takes a picture, but doesn't send it. He's afraid of the look in his eyes. 2. Unspoken mistake. The fiction begins on a rainy night. Jamie stays on set until late, while Amelia and the kids stay home. Instead of going home early, he's held back by a bad scene. The director says, "Jamie, we need to shoot more." And he, out of duty, nods. While he's away, Amelia receives a text from a close friend. "Are you okay? You know Amelia is struggling to raise 3 young children, make music, and be a mother on her own." And Jamie, he's not there. Amelia's feelings are fragile. At home, the 3 girls had just finished their homework, were arguing over the last candy, and the living room echoed with the screams of a forgotten child. And Jamie was not there. When Jamie returned, he found silence. Instead of a, "Hey, Dad," greeting, he received a questioning look. Amelia said softly, "Are you coming home early today?" Jamie was confused. He knew he had not only been absent, he had left the soul of his family. He had no excuse. Instead, he felt an emptiness, not just in the house, but in himself. 3. The night before the apology. A week later, Jamie received a call from the doctor. One of his children had a high fever and needed to stay home from school. Jamie was distraught. He was in another city filming. He dropped everything and booked a flight home. On the plane, he looked back at pictures of his daughter as a baby, when Dulcie first said, "Daddy," when Elva drew pictures for him, when Alberta asked him to sing lullabies. He remembered saying, "I'll always be there." But now he turned that promise into a memory. Back home, while Amelia was giving Alberta medicine in the living room, Jamie stood outside the door for a long time. He didn't knock, because he didn't know what to say. Then he walked in and said very quietly, "I'm sorry for not being there, for making you carry more than I thought possible." Amelia looked at him, her eyes somewhat determined. "I know you're busy. But I need you, not just to be there, but to be there." Jamie nodded. He understood that apologizing was a beginning, not an end. He pulled out a small card from his pocket, one Elva had drawn, 3 people smiling. He put it on the table and said, I want to be the father your children remember, the one who, when they say, Daddy, they say it with joy. Point 4. The stage talk. And then that night, Jamie stepped onto the stage, not on a film set, but at a children's charity event. He chose to speak the truth, not just for the audience, but for his own future. He began. I used to think that success was when your name was on a poster, when the spotlight was in your eyes, when the audience cheered. But now I see, the greatest success is when your wife looks into your eyes and says, I'm proud of you. When your daughter holds your hand and says, Daddy, tell me a story today. He talked about the nights he wasn't home, about Amelia's sighs at the door, about his fear when he realized he had to choose, either the spotlight or his daughter's eyes. He said, I hope, that Amelia and the kids will forgive me. Because I know I hurt. I know I've been away. But from now on, I want to come back. The audience was silent. And then there was applause, not just for the confession, but for the courage to look at the mistake and speak out. 5. Signs of a new beginning. After the event, Jamie didn't immediately resolve everything, because life isn't as simple as a speech. But he started to take action. He rearranged his schedule so that every few weeks he wouldn't be away filming, but would spend a whole week at home with his family. He and Amelia had an evening once a week, just the two of them. No phones, no schedules, just the two of them talking. He invited his 3 daughters to join him in a small film project at home. Each one picked a role, Jamie directed, and Amelia made the soundtrack. This project was his way of saying, you are more important than any role. He wrote a letter to Amelia, not public, but very personal. You've been my shelter when I've faltered. You've been my refuge. I want to come back so you don't have to carry the burden. Amelia saw the efforts, and her eyes gradually became less tense. The girls smiled more when Jamie was home. Even Alberta, who was shy when her father left, said for the first time, Daddy, tell me about it. Point 6. Challenges ahead. But the road wasn't smooth. There were days when Jamie was held back by work, and there were days when Amelia was exhausted from being a mother and composing music. He saw a flicker of sadness in her eyes, again. But this time, Jamie took the initiative. He called right away and said, I'm coming home early. Do you need me to buy you anything? He learned to listen, not just to words, but to silence. When Amelia was quiet, he didn't break it, but put his hand on her shoulder and said, I'm here. And there was a moment. Jamie picked her up from the house when it had just started to rain. His car stopped at the curb, and he saw Amelia standing there looking out the window. He opened the door and got in. She turned and looked at him, without speaking. Jamie said softly, I'm sorry I wasn't there when you needed me. She looked at the camera, then at him. I know. Thank you for being here. Not a big word, but the effect was already starting to spread. 7. Hope for forgiveness. Jamie's final words on stage were fateful. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. Virginia Woolf once said, forgiveness is giving control of your life back to the other person. I want to give that back to Amelia and her daughter. Allow him to choose and say, we trust you, Dad. He didn't expect immediate acceptance. He just wanted a sign, a handshake, a hug, a gentle, okay. And then one day, as the family gathered in the living room to watch a movie, Dulcie turned around and said, Daddy, I liked your part best. Jamie smiled, not because of the compliment but because she said, your part, not movie. It meant, she saw the father, not just the actor. Amelia stepped forward and put her hand on Jamie's shoulder. Thanks for this afternoon. Jamie nodded. A tear fell from his eye, not of sadness, but of hope. 8. Quiet night, new beginning. That night, Jamie and Amelia and the three daughters sat around the dining table, no spotlights, no cameras, just a simple dinner, warm soup, toast, and a crumbly cake. Alberta had accidentally done it. The family laughed and cleaned up the crumbs. Jamie remembered what he had said, "I hope to be forgiven." And in that moment, he felt like he had moved from hoping to being. He looked at Amelia, and in her eyes, he read, "We will go together." He looked at his three daughters, and in each little look, he read, "Daddy, we need you." Jamie smiled, and without saying anything, his soul said, "Thank you."